She asked what I wanted. I said you as a joke. She took off her armor. Ethan Cole stood near the edge of the grand negotiation hall, hands clasped behind his back, waiting to be ignored again. He had learned that waiting was a human skill. The hall itself was massive, carved from dark alloy that reflected the cold blue lights above. Rows of alien commanders sat on raised platforms, their armor etched with symbols of rank and conquest. At the center stood Commander Valera, her presence alone enough to silence the room. She was tall, even among her species. Her armor was flawless, layered plates of black and silver, sealed completely, hiding her face and form. No one on the station had ever seen her without it. To the Vraxian people, armor was not just protection. It was identity, duty, and control. Valera ruled the station with absolute discipline, and she had nearly lost it today. Hours earlier, a cascading failure had torn through Verx Prime's core systems. Power grids collapsed, defense arrays shut down, life support alarms screamed through every deck. Vraxian engineers panicked. Their systems were advanced but rigid. When something went wrong, they struggled to adapt. Ethan did not. He had been called in as a last resort, a human systems specialist assigned to the station as part of a minor alliance agreement. No one expected much from him. They rarely did. But when Ethan saw the problem, he didn't freeze. He improvised. He crawled through burning maintenance shafts. He rerouted power by hand. He bypassed alien safety protocols with crude but effective human logic. He took risks the Vraxians would never approve of, and it worked. The station stabilized. The alarms fell silent. Millions of lives were saved. Now, hours later, the council gathered to discuss rewards. Valera stepped forward, her armored footsteps echoing across the hall. Her voice carried power, steady and controlled. "The human Ethan Cole," she said. "Step forward. By our law, such service demands recognition." He tried to lighten it. "I don't know," Ethan said, his voice calm but unsure. "I wasn't really thinking about a reward." Then the hall exploded with sound. Laughter burst from the alien platforms, deep, sharp, mocking. Warriors slapped armored hands against their seats. Some howled in amusement. A human daring to joke about claiming a Vraxian commander was absurd. Ethan's smile vanished. He immediately realized his mistake. That was a joke," he started to say. "I didn't mean." Because Valera did not laugh. She stood perfectly still, her helmet angled slightly downward. The glowing lines on her armor dimmed, then slowly brightened again. The room noticed. One by one, the aliens fell silent. Valera raised a single armored hand. The hall froze. "You spoke publicly," she said, her voice quieter now, more dangerous. "Repeat your words." "I said I wanted you," he admitted. "But it was just a joke. Humans joke when we're nervous. I didn't mean any disrespect." "I will speak with the human alone." The private chamber was smaller, dimly lit and quiet. The air felt heavier. Valera dismissed the guards with a sharp command. When they were alone, she turned back to Ethan. For the first time, her posture changed. Not weaker, just different. "You claim it was a joke," she said. "Yes," Ethan replied quickly. "I swear, I didn't think. I'm sorry if I caused trouble." She stopped a few steps away. "You did not speak with desire, you spoke without fear." Plates separated with a soft mechanical hiss. One by one she removed them, not rushed, not dramatic, just honest. The armor came away. Beneath it stood not a monster, not a symbol, but a person. Valera was tall, her skin marked with faint luminescent patterns. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent, and tired. Without the armor, she looked real. "This armor," she said, setting the final piece aside, "is not removed lightly. It means trust, vulnerability. Now others will question my strength, they will test me, and you. Neither do humans," she said. And somewhere in the station, powerful eyes began to turn toward a single human who had spoken without fear. The news spread faster than fire in dry air. Within hours, whispers filled every corridor of Verx Prime. A human had spoken forbidden words. The commander had removed her armor. A private audience had ended without punishment. In Vraxian culture, silence meant danger. Ethan Cole felt it the moment he stepped out of the private chamber. The station felt different. Eyes followed him, some curious, some angry, some calculating. He kept his posture calm, just as he had learned among aliens. Do not show fear. Do not rush. Do not challenge. Still, his heart beat hard. He was escorted to his assigned quarters, but this time the guards did not walk ahead of him. They walked beside him. Not prisoners, guards, escorts. That alone was enough to shake the station's power structure. High above, in a council chamber sealed behind layered shields, Vraxian nobles gathered. Their armor was heavier, their symbols older. These were not soldiers. These were rulers. She removed her armor, one of them hissed, for a human. A signal flashed. Council summons. She accepted. Moments later, her image appeared before the council. Dozens of armored figures stared back at her, their faces hidden, their voices sharp. Commander Valera, the High Arbiter said, explain your actions. By our law, such an act earns recognition. You removed your armor. Two guards arrived at his quarters and informed him he was to report to the lower training deck. No explanation. No delay. The training deck was a massive open space designed for Vraxian warriors, high gravity, uneven terrain, and harsh lighting. Ethan immediately felt the pressure when he stepped inside. His knees bent slightly, muscles straining. Dozens of warriors stood watching. At the center stood a Vraxian officer, taller and broader than most. His armor bore marks of many battles. This human, the officer announced, will demonstrate why he deserves to stand where warriors stand. Ethan looked at it, then at the officer. What happens if I lose? He dodged, stumbled, rolled. The Vraxian was powerful but slow to adapt. Ethan grabbed the weapon only long enough to trigger a stun pulse against the floor, collapsing part of the deck. The Vraxian stumbled, armor locking up for a split second. That was enough. Ethan did not strike. He stepped back. I'm not here to beat you, he said, breathing hard. I'm here because I fix things when they break. Not respect yet, but uncertainty, and uncertainty was dangerous. That night, Valera visited him again. No armor, this time no guards. You could have taken the opening, she said. I didn't want to humiliate him, Ethan replied. That just makes enemies. That may be the same thing. Then she reached out, not touching him, just close enough for him to feel the warmth of her presence. Humans are dangerous, she said quietly. Not because of strength, but because you choose. And the joke that had started everything was no longer a joke at all. Verx Prime was a living thing of metal and light, always humming, always moving. But after the trials began, its rhythm changed. Corridors felt tighter. Conversations ended when footsteps approached. Security patrols doubled. Uncertainty had turned into fear. Ethan Cole felt it most clearly when he tried to access the main systems. His clearance was still valid, but every request now took longer. Every door hesitated before opening. Someone was watching every move he made. He did not complain. Humans had learned long ago that pressure revealed truth. Valera felt it too. Her command authority remained, but it was thinner now, like ice stretched over deep water. Orders were followed, but questions followed them. Officers hesitated before responding. Some avoided her gaze altogether. The council had not moved openly yet. That was what worried her. In the shadowed levels of the station, far from the command decks, a quiet meeting took place. 3 armored figures stood around a holographic display. The human must be removed, one said. As long as he stands, she stands. Unofficial reason: exposure. The habitat ring housed mixed species, laborers, families, non-combatants. It was old, crowded, and sensitive. A single mistake could cause panic. When Ethan arrived, Valera was already there. You shouldn't be here, he said quietly. I command this station, she replied. I go where I choose. Red lights flashed. Gravity fluctuated. A section of the ring depressurized partially, not enough to kill, but enough to cause chaos. People screamed. Aliens shouted orders. Systems failed one after another. It's deliberate, Ethan said immediately. Yes, Valera replied. They want to see how you react. He sprinted toward the failing section, ignoring the pull of unstable gravity. He overrode safety locks, sealing some areas while opening others. He rerouted power manually, burning his hands on exposed conduits. Valera followed, issuing commands, holding lines, keeping panic from spreading. Then something went wrong. A secondary explosion shook the ring. A support strut failed. A section of the ceiling began to collapse. Valera turned just in time. She pushed a group of civilians out of the way, but the falling debris was too fast. Ethan saw it. He did not think. He ran. The impact knocked the air from his lungs. Pain exploded through his side. The debris crushed against his shoulder, pinning him partially to the deck. The ceiling held, but barely. Valera froze. For a heartbeat, the station seemed silent. Then she moved. With a strength that made even her own guards pause, she lifted the debris and pulled Ethan free. His body was limp, blood seeping through his uniform. "Medical," she ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. They rushed him to the infirmary. Hours passed. Valera stood outside the medical bay, armor still untouched. Her hands trembled slightly, something no one had ever seen before. A senior officer approached. "Commander, the council will say this proves your weakness." When he woke, the lights were soft. His body ached. He tried to move and stopped when he felt a presence beside him. Valera sat there. No armor, no guards. "You should be resting," he said weakly. "You should be dead," she replied softly. He managed a small smile. "Guess I'm stubborn." "You still came." A counselor spoke sharply. "He bled for this station." The arbiter addressed them both. "Human Ethan Cole, Commander Valera, your actions have forced this council to reconsider." The arbiter nodded slowly. "And that," he said, "is what unsettles us." But the final trial had not yet come. The final trial did not come with alarms. That was how Ethan Cole knew it would be worse. Verx Prime moved as it always did, lights steady, systems stable, patrols calm. On the surface, the station had returned to order, but beneath that calm, pressure built like a storm held behind glass. Valera felt it in every command she gave. Officers obeyed, but their eyes lingered. Messages from the council arrived more often, each carefully worded, each asking the same thing in different ways. "Is your loyalty divided?" Valera's answer never changed. "My loyalty is to this station and the lives on it." This time the hall was full, not just commanders and nobles, but observers, envoys, and station representatives. Humans were present too, watching carefully from their designated section. Ethan stood among them. He was still healing. His movements were slower. His side ached when he breathed too deeply, but he stood straight, his eyes clear. Valera entered alone, not in armor. A ripple moved through the hall. Armor was expected. Armor was authority. To appear without it before the full council was unheard of. Valera stopped at the center of the hall and raised her head. "I am here," she said, "as myself." "Commander Valera," he said, "you stand accused of weakening tradition, elevating a lesser species, and allowing emotion to interfere with command." Every eye followed him as he crossed the hall. He did not wear a uniform of rank. He carried no weapon. He stood as he always had, calm, human, unarmored. "You were offered reward," the arbiter said. "You spoke reckless words. Those words caused instability." Of Valera lifting debris with bare strength. Of lives saved because someone chose to act. "No," he said. "I regret that they caused harm, but I don't regret standing by the result." You refuse titles, you refuse power, you refuse fear. This council must decide what kind of strength will answer them. That choice was his. Ethan stepped forward. "I'll follow." Valera did not rush. She maneuvered carefully, protecting civilian routes, refusing bait, forcing the enemy to expose weaknesses. Ethan rerouted power, adapted shields, found patterns others missed. When the enemy struck hard, Valera held the line. When systems faltered, Ethan fixed them. They fought not as commander and subordinate, but as equals. The battle ended with the enemy retreating, confused and damaged, unable to understand why their pressure had failed. Back on Verx Prime, the council watched in silence. They did not dominate, one counselor said slowly. They endured. This time no laughter followed. The arbiter rose. The trials are complete. For Joyce. Neither do we, she said. The station watched as the two of them walked away side by side. No armor, no titles claimed, just choice. And for the first time in its long history, Verx Prime understood something new about humanity. They were not loud. They were not dominant. They were dangerous, because when given the chance to rule, they chose to stand.